under the Economic Stabilization Program will run concurrently with the National Construction and Household Support Program. While inaugurating the Committee on the Presidential Economic Coordinating Council (PECC), the President affirmed that the measures will include the risk sectors of energy security, agriculture and food security, health and social welfare, and fiscal measures. The Presidential Economic Coordinating Council has members from the government and the organized private sector. Members of the organized private sector are Alhaji Aliko Dangote, Mr. Tony Elumelu, Alhaji Abdul Samad Rabiu, Ms. Amina Meina, Mr. Wale Tinubu, Mr. Segun Ajayi Kadiri, and Dr. Funke Opeke. Others include Dr. Doyin Salami, Mr. Patrick Okigbo, Mr. Kola Adeshino, Mr. Segun Agbaje, Mr. Chidi Ajere, Mr. Abdulkadir Aliu, and Mr. Rashid Sarumi. Today on the program, economic analyst Mr. Abraham Olapade is joining us to discuss on the need to rejuvenating the country's economy through the newly inaugurated Presidential Economic Coordinating Council (PEC), and we'll also be expecting a public analyst, Mr. Adejo Ephraim, who will be joining us on Skype to also take up the discussion. We'll be back right after the business news. Stay with us. Equity sector of the nation's domestic market transacted in a total volume of 1,383 million stocks at the last session, worth 6.4 billion naira across 9,889 deals. UPL topped the advancers with a price appreciation of 10%, followed by Guinness Nigeria PLC and Champion Breweries, improving with 9.96% and 9.83%. On the laggards, Cavitin PLC, Associated Bus Company, and Nigeria Breweries led the list, depreciating with 9.62%, 8.52%, and 7.37%. During the session, the stocks of Fidelity Bank was the most active stock, trading in 52 million stocks, while ICO Insurance and Veritas Capital contributed in 21 million stocks and 15.2 million stocks in that order. In the course of transaction, all share index and market capitalization of listed equities moderated by 0.08% to close at 99,840 units and 56.4 trillion naira. Meanwhile, the Naira exchange on the I&E window for 1,504 Naira to the dollar, 1,908 Naira to the pound sterling, and 1,625 Naira to the euro. ILE EMEJE, ASO Television News. Of 1,383 million stocks at the last session, worth 6.4 billion naira across 9,889 deals. UPL topped the advancers with a price appreciation of 10%, followed by Guinness Nigeria PLC and Champion Breweries, improving with 9.96% and 9.83%. On the laggards, Cavitin PLC, Associated Bus Company, and Nigeria Breweries led the list, depreciating with 9.62%, 8.52%, and 7.37%. During the session, the stocks of Fidelity Bank was the most active stock, trading in 52 million stocks, while ICO Insurance and Veritas Capital contributed in 21 million stocks and 15.2 million stocks in that order. In the course of transaction, all share index and market capitalization of listed equities moderated by 0.08% to close at 99,840 units and 56.4 trillion naira. Meanwhile, the Naira exchange on the I&E window for 1,504 Naira to the dollar, 1,908 Naira to the pound sterling, and 1,625 Naira to the euro. ILE EMEJE, ASO Television News. All right, my studio guest is already with me here, and he is an economic analyst, Mr. Abraham Olakpade, and we will be taking a look at the economic stabilization initiative of the president through the newly inaugurated PECC. We'll be running a series on the PECC measures with the energy sector in view on today's episode because of the limited time that we may have today. Also, we expect a public analyst, Mr. Adejo Ifrin, to join us on Skype in the course of the program. Mr. Olakpade, welcome you to today's edition of the program.
It's a pleasure to always be here.
Right. Our president, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is such a lovable, sociable, and easygoing man who is not known to be a high-headed person. Unfortunately, many Nigerians are groaning under his administration. What do you think is responsible for the groaning?
It's just the basic thing to a common man is just the cost of living. Since he came on board, we've seen rising cost of living, which almost in 3/4, what people could buy before for 10 naira. So now they have to maybe have 40 naira to buy it. So the income of the people did not increase, but the cost of living has gone up sporadically, and in simple terms, inflation. So it has really eaten deep. So, and everybody's groaning. Don't let me say everybody, most people are groaning because of the inflation. So that's just the main problem, the inflation level, the inflationary pressure on the people. So, so if you have what you were doing for 10 naira before, now you need 40 naira to do it, and your income did not increase. So in fact, your income went down. So definitely that's what affected many people, and that's why they believe that he has not done too well. Because for a common man, what matters to him is his daily living. So no matter the grammar you speak, no matter the policy you say you're enacting, what affects him is what to eat, where to put his head at night, to take care of his family, and to wear clothes. So once he cannot do that with ease, no matter who you are as a government, he believes you are not doing enough. And to be fair, to the people, the Constitution, the first section of the Constitution, what it said is that the security and welfare of the people shall be the first priority of any government. So the people are right, because even it is enshrined in the Constitution that their welfare and their security must be the first priority. So every other thing is secondary. So the primary thing is for you to make sure your people are well taken care of. So once your people are not well taken care of, so there's going to be a very big challenge. In the 1979 election between Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan, it was a simple word Ronald Reagan said at the final debate. It was a simple question he asked the Americans. He told the Americans, if your life has been better in the last 4 years, it means we don't need a replacement in the White House. But if your life has not been better off, it means there's a need for replacement. And the Americans replaced Jimmy Carter with Ronald Reagan, brought Ronald Reagan in. So government is about welfare, security, and welfare of the people. Even that's what the Constitution says, the oath of you. And as a president, you swore an oath to defend the Constitution. So it's binding. So it's a covenant that is binding. So the people have not they've not gone overboard for them to decide, for them to determine, for them to ask that the government must look after them, that their life must not deteriorate. So that's just the challenge.
All right, so you were making reference to the constitutional right
yes.
of the government to take priority in ensuring that the lives of the people are well protected, their lives are well protected.
Yes, both economically and security.
And otherwise.
Yes.
And can we also be right to say that it is in that light that when this administration assumed power, the administration had to introduce two critical policies, which all of us know. And the first one is the removal of fuel subsidy removal, and the second one is the flotation of the naira. Can we be right to say that all these policies were introduced
there are
an assumption because of the priority that the federal government wants to place on ensuring a sustainable economy?
Okay, there are three things that even led to this inflationary pressure. Okay. You forgot to add the energy, the increment band A, this band A, sectionalization of the power, and the power was increased, and most of the production line, most of the companies are on band A. So now it was increased to 168. From there, I think it's around 206 per kilowatt now. So the increase in cost of power, flotation of the naira, and oil subsidy removal, those are the three things that brought a lot of inflationary pressure. And if we look at it, the government's intentions were good, but you know, there's difference between intention. Even the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So, but to be fair, yes, the way to hell is paved with good intentions. So you can have good intentions, but that does not mean the world is not fair. You have to get used to it. That was what Bill Gates said. So you might have good intention, that does not mean it's going to pan out well. So, but let's be fair on the government. The reason why government removed oil subsidy was because, number one, government believed that there was too much corruption in that system, that we were not consuming up to half of what the government was paying subsidy on. So government believes that they need to free up some fund, that the money they were even using to pay subsidy, so even this money, they should divert it to critical sector of the economy. They should use it to close the infrastructural gap. They should spend it on health and education, that there are better places that they can spend this money on. So that was the plan of the government, to get rid of corruption and to save up fund to be able to divert to other places. And don't also forget that as at last year, our revenue to debt was around 90. We are using more than 90% of our revenue to service debt. On debt, and that was why we have to go through the way and means last year, that we have to print currency, quantitative easing, so that we can be able to fund our responsibility. But we can't go on like that, because it was the money that CBN could loan in printing currency was 5% of the previous year's revenue. But when we came under too much pressure, we had to amend the law and increase it to 15%. And even government have not paid the one that they borrowed from CBN, even as a 50% of 2022 revenue. So now it means that gap, that avenue has been closed for borrowing money. So government was thinking that, how are we going to fund 2024 budget? How are we going to fund 2025 year? We need to cut down on some of our expenses, and they look at it, let all subsidy go, so that at least we have some breathing space. Because now many things we don't have, where all our opportunities, all our breathing space is going. Quantitative easing, borrowing money from CBN, that one, we've exhausted it. We can't borrow much again because we are close to 50%, because the threshold of IMF is 55% to GDP. That if your debt to GDP must not be more than 55%. As of last year, and below. Yes, as of last year, we're already close to 50%. So we've crossed even the 50% now. So government was looking at it, how are we going to survive? You understand? So okay, let's free up some money. That was the intention. So, and it's not a bad intention, but the only problem was just that the government was not prepared for the fallout. No, as that policy was being planned, there was no counter policy to take care of the fallout, and that was why it was very burdensome for the people. That was why it was very heavy for the people to bear. And on the flotation of the currency, round tripping, for the last 8 years, it has been a very serious problem with the CBN and some serious concern. Yes, CBN and some bureau de change operators and some powers in the government. Somebody can walk to CBN, get for 400 naira at official rate, just walk across the street and sell it for 700 naira per dollar. And a lot of people were becoming billionaires overnight while Nigerians were crying. So, and government was also using money, billions every year, billions of dollars every year to defend the currency. So also government also look at it, okay, let's flow the currency. There are two things we're going to achieve. If we flow the currency, number one, there is no need for us to be using billions of scarce forex to be defending the naira. And number two is that we're going to eliminate that corruption of some high and mighty going to the CBN and getting dollars at official rate and selling it in the black market for exorbitant and becoming. So those are the two primary reasons. The secondary reason was just that government also felt that if we make this thing open, an open market system, foreign investor will be able to come in. Many people can come in because they know that when they bring in their forex, they can also take it out with ease. So those are the reasons, which are also very good intentions also. But the government did not put into consideration that we are speculators. Government did not put into consideration that we are dealing with speculators, and there was no counter policy to deal with speculators. So that was why that one also, let me say failed. That was why that one also did not also pan out so well. And also on the issue of power, the major problem we have on the issue of power, the increments in Prime A, is that now government did not put into consideration that the government schools, teaching hospitals that are on band A, how are they going to be able to pay this money? You didn't increase the subvention you are giving to them, the yearly subvention you are giving to them to run. Now you've increased cost of power, and these schools, it does not belong to the government. So it means this these people who are rendering these social services, they have to pay. So now there are only two options. It's either government increase their subvention or they increase what they are charging. So if they increase what they are charging, it means many students will be out of tertiary tuition. It means many patients will not be able to afford these services. So government did not put into consideration that the schools that belongs to the government, the hospitals that belong to the government, will charge very minimum fee, which relies on government subvention to run. How are they going to be able to pay this new fee? So now it's a very, very serious problem. We can see school fees, federal government institutions are increasing school fees, state institutions are increasing school fees, hospitals are increasing their charges, or some of them are rationing light, and many, it's a very big challenge. So government, the problem is not what the government did. They had good intentions, just like I've mentioned, but there was no counter policy to take care of the fallout. There's what we call cost-benefit analysis in economics. It means if you want to do anything, you look at the positive and the negative side of it. So you look at it that, okay, does the cost outweigh the benefit? Which one outweigh the other? So you know what to do. The government did not really take their time to do a proper cost-benefit analysis. So if they've done a proper cost-benefit analysis, they will have also come up with policy to be able to cushion the effect on the people. So that's just what caused all this.
But a lot of analysts have also come up to say, to give the government kudos, just like you said, the intentions are okay, but 1, 2, 3 things are not in order. Because if you recall the situation of events before, especially in the energy sector, before the assumption in office of this present administration, there was a time, I think there was a lot of argument on the pages of the newspapers saying that in the previous administrations, we used to consume as high as 69 million barrels per day.
69 million liters.
69 million liters of PMS per day. But on assumption in office of this administration, I think it was discovered that we have been consuming about 49 or 47. Huh?
They said they're talking about that, hovering around 40-something million. That's so what happened to the $29 million?
So if we say that the government has failed to put maybe some institutional framework in place before the introduction of some of these policies, what will you say about the situation, what it was then, assuming we were consuming 69 million liters per day? And now we are consuming, no matter what the situation, so what happens to the difference?
No matter what the situation is, those figures are speculative, because NNPC is disputing with what they call it, NOPENG. NNPC is disputing with NOPENG. NOPENG is disputing with CBN. No, it's a whole lot of mess. So, but yes, they want to take care of corruption. We are said that. But, you know, you don't throw the baby out with the water.
Okay.
Understand? And in my place, they said that that beheading is not the solution to headache. Understand? No, you don't want to punish the elite, fine. You want to take care of the elite which are the corrupt. Okay, what about the masses that are going to feel it? The masses, the people which make up the majority of the population, what do you have in line? So I don't want to go into issue about whether their figure is right or their figure is not right. That one is an entire issue. Let's accept even that there's corruption there. Let's accept all those figures. But you should have make sure there is a policy in place to take care of the people. Right. That is what it should have been done.
All right. Let's see if we can connect with our guest on Skype. Hello. Can we see if... Okay. Hello. Good morning to you over there.
Good morning to you. Happy to have you here.
All right, Mr. Adejo Ephraim, do you differ in the opinion of my guest in the studio? Like I said, our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, we all know him to be a lovable, sociable, and easygoing man who is not known to be a high-headed person. Unfortunately, many Nigerians are groaning under his administration. What do you think as responsible for the groaning?
Sorry, can you throw the question again? The network is bridging. Can you throw the question
What do you think is responsible for the groaning, the complaint that a lot of people are complaining of the administration, the present administration, because of the hardship that they are going through? What do you think has led to this? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. The question is clear.
All right.
Okay. I think to start with, one of the things that is bothering Nigerians and is bringing about complaints here and there, people groaning, is the hardship, the high rate of hardship around the country. Because before President Tinubu come on board, from their campaign and their promises they have given to Nigerians, it has given Nigerians a high level of belief and trust that if, of course, President Tinubu come on board, he will be able to take us beyond where President Muhammad Buhari left us before he left the government. Now, the high tendency of people waiting and believing that as soon as President Tinubu come on board, as he has been promising, as he has been saying, it's going to give them a lot of it's going to give Nigerians a lot of hope for living. And now the high rate, the level of how things are going has made people to somehow lose confidence in the government. What prompted this is simply because when a year ago plus, I think when he come on board, he made a statement right there at the inauguration ground that the subsidy is gone, and from there everything starts shooting up. People start complaining, people start murmuring. And if you take a look at this solidly and vividly, you will discover that from that day till now, things are going higher and higher. The economy is not stable, and the marketers, the major marketers, and of course the retailers and all of that, the prices of things around the country is not steady. When you go to a place to buy or to get some certain things for yourself, you will discover that the prices they put there is different from another place and all of that. So the thing is really giving Nigerians a headache, is giving them little setback, because when people are not financially buoyant, definitely they will murmur, they will complain. But of course, if you still look at the other hand of it, and you will discover that, of course, President Tinubu is in his own and trying as well, because something is already going on right now that is making Nigerians to commend him and to give him kudos. Right now, you can see the issue of the autonomy to the local government and all of that. That people are already celebrating, jubilating, and all of that. But of course, even why the local government in the local area are getting their autonomy as a local government, of course, the president in his capacity and in his office should, of course, use his office to make sure that the state government or governors per se should not hijack the processes and the will and the wish of people from coming in. And of course, INEC also should take their stand now and make sure that they do the needful so the processes of the election that will be conducted in the local governments can be free, fair, and credible. And of course, the INEC are supposed to do according to the will of people and according to the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria, so people will not be complaining after election. As people massively are under hardship in Nigeria, you can't take anything from there. You know, everybody is aware that there are a lot of hardship and things are not going right accordingly. But if the processes of the local government election will be conducted properly and appropriately, you will discover that kudos will start returning back to the president, and our economy will definitely grow, and people that are in the rural area, that in the remote areas that are not on certain things right, will start getting things right. The issue of unemployment, people will start getting employment. Even the issue of electricity will start going to the terrain and the outlet of the local governments and all of that. So kudos to the president Tinubu for that. They're happy about that, but people are still groaning and of course complaining about the hardship around the country. The reason is because money is not in circulation. This money is just in one side. It's not really in circulation that everybody will have and do things buoyantly the way you want to do and all of that. So until the government to make sure that they stabilize the prices of things in the market and not really help Nigerians. I trust.
All right. All right. Thank you so much. We'll get back to you in a minute. Recently, Abraham, the president inaugurated the PECC, that is the Presidential Economic Coordinating Council, to rejuvenate and stabilize the economy in what looks like a reform in 4 major sectors of the economy, just like we noted in our introduction. And because of time, we are going to dwell on the energy sector in this episode. And the question to ask is, what is the president going to do differently in the energy sector that never resulted or amounted to anything?
On Thursday, the president launched a program, Accelerated Stabilization and Advancement Plan, which is just like some of us has been advocating. Even some of us have written on it. We've written on it, published in newspapers, and that there needs to be a stabilization fund. Because when we are going through what we're going through now, we need beyond budgetary provisions. We need a direct stabilization of the economy. That's what happens in every nation that have followed this path we're following. I've been on this program before. I've said it that this policy we're following is called the shock therapy. And one of the things that must be done when you're going through this shock therapy is there must be a stabilization plan and program. It means stabilization plan and program is government, outside of the budgetary provision, government intervening directly in the key sectors of the economy that will be badly hit, to make sure that they ameliorate the suffering of the people. Now, even in 2002, President Biden, when inflation was rising in America and there was a lot of mess with the American economy after the COVID, there was a lot of mess in the American economy, President Biden had to sign the Inflation Reduction Act. He has to sign it in August, which is also a direct intervention in the critical sector of the economy. Yes, it's likely to. Maybe they even borrowed the leave for it. We don't know. Okay. Understand? And today, the Americans are getting the result. Are getting intended result. The economy have stabilized. Even as of last week, the Treasury Secretary, that's what they call the NCBN governor, has said that now that inflation has stabilized, they will start bringing down the interest rate. Understand? So the economy of the U.S. after the Inflation Reduction Act that was signed in 2022 has responded well, and the economy stabilized now and producing jobs and everything. So now we can also liken it to it. So now the President Tinubu is talking about a 2 trillion stabilization fund, and is dividing into 4 critical, is it 4 areas? 4 areas. 4 of them. Understand? And the energy we're talking about is taking that we're discussing today is taking 500 billion out of it. And out of it also, to implement this policy, the government formed a Economic Coordination Council. Yes,
coordinating a council.
Yes, it formed it. So, but may I just pray that they should go on, they should be able to achieve the intended plan proposal. It's a good proposal. But don't forget that in February, President Tinubu inaugurated a Presidential Advisory Council, which we don't know what happened to that Advisory Council at the end of the day. So, Advisory Council, we have the NEC, which is National Economic Council, which is statutory, which is headed by the Vice President. That one is statutory. But President, in their wisdom, they bring Presidential Advisory Council. They advise the president, many members of the of academics, private sector, and government, Minister of Finance, Power, the ministers that are, and governors. They are always part of it. Even in America, we have what we call Economic Advisors Council. Councils of Economic Advisors, yes, Council of Economic Advisors. We have it in US, which they meet and advise the government. So now the government, and under this our own Economic Coordination Council, there is a subcommittee that is the task force, which the government has saddled the responsibility of coming out in the next 2 weeks with an economic plan, as an act of emergency, what should be done. So now the government said that their target for the power sector under this plan is to increase power to 6,000 megawatts in the next 6 months. Power generation to 6,000 from 4,000 that we are, to increase it to 6,000 megawatts in the next 6 months. This committee, this subcommittee, which are going to be the task force, which are going to be the one drafting the policy. How, this is a goal. Now we're talking about the strategy to achieve it. So this subcommittee, it will be the one which is coordinated by the Minister of Finance. It will be the one to coordinate the subcommittee, which is the task force, while the General Economic Coordinating Council will be headed by the President himself. So now they will come up with how are they going to now achieve this 6,000 megawatts in the next 6 months. So this committee, they've not told us how. They only set a goal. They've not told us the strategy that they have to be able to achieve 6,000. And also in the area of power, which also fall under this, their energy. Their goal is to increase our oil production to 2 million barrels per day from around 1.3 million barrels we're doing. If we're able to achieve that, they didn't put a time frame on when they want to achieve it. But me, I believe this is a short goal. It's a short-term thing. So I think it should be in the next 6 months. So if they're able to achieve this in the next 6 months, what it means is that we're going to be adding up to like 700,000 barrels extra to our oil production. Oil today is above $80 per barrel. So if you look at that $80 per barrel, multiply it by 700,000 per barrel per day, and multiply it by 1 year. So it means that we are going to be adding something around $20 billion into our revenue. So if we're able to add 20, if we're going to succeed with even this 2 million, increasing our oil production to 2 million barrels per day, we don't have any business with borrowing. If we can add $20 billion to all things being equal, that's why I say if we're able to do it. So it means, because we don't even have how to borrow again, because we've already gotten to the threshold of borrowing. So we have very limited options now. Now we have our debt to GDP now is 52%. So and the threshold is 55%. We're already at 52%. We've already devalued our currency to get more revenue. So we've already printed currency. So we don't have any option than for these things to work. Because if these things don't work, God forbid, I don't want to be negative. What will happen in 2025? Yes, it must work. That's just it. There's no two way about it. If this thing does not work, I don't know what will happen towards 2025, because our revenue to debt service is already around 90%. So where do we want to go in 2025? We've exhausted all our options that we can exhaust to be able to flow the economy,
and yet why it will work.
No, good intention is not about confession now. I understand, it's not about confession. But the only good thing about this committee is just that we have people from the academics there, we have people from the private sector, and we have government. Yes, players. We have industry players, we have key industry players, we have economists there from the academics, and we have ministers there, we have governors, state governors there. So it's an encompassing. So it's even more robust than the tripartite committee that Tripartite Economic Committee that he formed in February, that something happened along the way. We don't really know what happened along the way. So I believe that with all these people, if there's sincerity and if there's political will, which I believe there's political will, because as a president, you don't want your people to suffer. And 2025 is just around the corner. We are struggling with 2024 already. So where are you going to get the revenue to be able to float? What's going to happen? So it means we're already in fry pan. So if this thing does not work, we'll be in fire in 2025. God forbid. Understand?
We are hopeful that it will work.
Okay, because now inflation at above 30, food inflation at 42%. Now the naira has started sliding backward again at 1,560 during the weekend. So
it's about 1,504.
So now, so now we have a lot of these things must work, because now we can't even increase the interest rate anymore to control our monetary flow, to be able to bring inflation down, because we've also exhausted that. Because now if we increase interest rate beyond what it is now, we're going to by ourselves push our economy to recession. Because if you keep increasing interest rates, businesses will be falling up, just like we see. We can see people in the private sector already complaining about the high interest rate. What do you want to sell?
But again, there is a worry expressed by a lot of Nigerians on whether the president has evaluated the enormous corruption in the sector and whether he has developed a strong political will to ensure that these cabals that has held Nigerians over the years would be dealt with.
You know, they have to be dealt with. You know, it's just unfortunate that, you know, when the president came on board, there was a lot of shake-up in many of the government MDAs and sectors.
I'm sure you are going to mention CBN.
No, in all the sector, we see what is happening in CBN now. Many of these directors, many of the workers, don't let me say directors, many of the workers in CBN, many of them have been shown the door because they were checking their records. Do you have to be here? What are you doing here? What is your work here? So we've seen a lot of shake-up. We can even say the CBN governor currently is facing his own music, he's being audited and everything. And many other sectors have faced that. But it's NNPC and DSS. Those are the only two. Those are the only two government agency that this government has not touched. Nobody has been fired. There've not been any reconstitution, and they've not dissolved them. It was the GMD, the former GMD stayed the new GMD. So the government has not really. We don't know his plan. Maybe he's taking his times. Maybe he's checking files. Maybe he's looking up in the files. You know, this man is just 1 year in office. So maybe he's checking files. We don't know his plans, but he must do something. People, head must roll in these places. Right. NNPC must not be business as usual anymore.
Okay, let's take Mr. Omale. Mr. Adejo. Adejo, hello? Hello, Mr. Adejo.
I'm with you. I'm here. I can
Hello?
hear you.
Hello,
Yes,
Mr. Adejo, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, do you think that the president has evaluated the corruption in the oil sector to fight the battles with cabals and ensure that this menace in the sector will be taken care of?
Of course, let me start by saying that one of the things that makes people or Nigerians to come out in mass to vote for President Tinubu is simply because of how he has governed very well Lagos State, not allowing corruption to overwhelm his government during his time from 1999 down to 2007. Now, that gives people all sincerity to make sure that they bring him to power. Just like what you've just said and what Mr. Abraham has been rightly saying there, I agree with him all with what he has been saying. But that area that you just mentioned is really power sector.
It's like we're having some issues there. Okay, Mr. Olakpade, time will not allow us to take all our questions on this episode, but again we have to take this. It has always been reported that there has been a massive stealing of our crude oil, and this cannot be perpetrated by the ordinary Nigerians, but those with technical knowledge in collaboration with security agencies and powerful Nigerians. As we round off, in which way do you think this menace can be handled? And Nigeria is the only country producing oil but cannot refine. Why is our refinery?
On the issue of crude oil theft, on the issue of crude oil theft, the Minister of Petrol on Friday he announced, he had the first conference, and he said that the government has awarded a $21 million contract for the metering of all the oil flows in Niger Delta. Yeah. Which one of the things that someone like me have been advocating is that we need to deploy technology to fight oil theft. We need to, there are many ways, drones, we can have a control system, we can have a control room, even in the office of the NSA, that monitors everything that happens in all our flow stations, in all the Niger Delta, in all the Niger Delta oil wells. We can have dedicated security control room that monitors everything that happens there, and you are seeing it from your office. Understand? We understand. So, but we are happy that the government has listened to us, and now they are deploying technology. Technology is the only means that we can use to fight oil theft, and also sincerity also. But for them awarding that contract $21 million, I know that they have good intentions, but our prayer is that they should be able to follow through on it. And on the issue of the refinery of petroleum, Dangote, we don't know the problem, but Dangote is already producing diesel. Dangote refinery producing diesel and aviation fuel, and it's promising that they will start production of PMS. But the issue of the government-owned refinery, we don't know what is happening. The government needs to ask the NNPC chairman, the NNPC MD. He has been promising us that Port Harcourt will come on board, and he has been shifting, and now I think it's indefinite now.
All right, all right. You can go on and on and on. You said that we need an effective monitoring in the energy sector for proper delivery of the sector. Yes. And we need to deploy technology. Okay, yes. Mr. Ephraim.
Yes, I'm here. I was locked. The network was bad at that time, but I'm here now. I can hear you.
in 10 seconds, we are rounding off now. What would be your advice to the government?
Can you come again, please?
In 10 seconds, what would be your advice to the government on the energy sector?
Okay, the advice that we like to give the government and the head of the government is to make sure there is transparency in the sector, so that can enable us as a country to grow from this economy setback. So
all right,
help us.
all right.
I think that is the advice.
Thank you so much. Thank you. He said that there should be enough adequate transparency in governance, so that we can have a sustainable delivery of the oil sector for our economic sustainability. And that is how far we can go on today's edition of Business and Economy. The guest has been an economic analyst with me in the studio. My guest in the studio has been an economic analyst, Mr. Abraham Olakpade. Mr. Olakpade, I want to thank you for coming.
It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, and also we had a public analyst, Mr. Adejo Ephraim, who joined us on Skype. Mr. Ephraim, we want to thank you for joining us on today's edition of the program.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Amen. And to you out there, our esteemed audience, we also appreciate your time for investing your time with us today on the program. I am ILE EMEJE saying have a great week ahead.